Alzheimer's disease is the sixth leading cause of death in the U.S., and as of right now, there is no cure.
Currently, more than 5 million Americans live with this disease every day. Hi, I'm James Green.
And I'm Sherry Green. Researchers are constantly developing new treatments to alter the course of the disease and improve the quality of life for those that it affects.
Today, the Volunteer Spotlight focuses on the incredible research advances right in our own backyard.
There are no coincidences, I don't believe, and it's interesting that my husband Tom Mayo and I were watching a movie called The Iron Lady about Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister of England, and I'll tell you, it was about Alzheimer's, and it was about her descending into emptiness, where her mind was going, and about some form of hallucination that would come in with it, where she would see her husband once again. It's a beautiful movie, one of the best movies I've ever seen. And the interesting thing is, we're going to discuss Alzheimer's today. That is Dr. Mary Quinceno and Dr. Cindy Marshall from the Alzheimer's Association. Pronounce your last name?
Quinceno.
I almost got it, didn't I? Okay. I want to ask you the number one thing. When someone we love has Alzheimer and they say, I saw Daddy today, he came into the garden, are we supposed to say, now Mama, you know Daddy died 3 years ago, remember, or do we say, oh, that's great, was he picking flowers?
Mm-hmm, right.
Do you go along with whatever the hallucination is?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that especially the Alzheimer's Association helps with is helping families cope with the disease and just deal with those day-to-day events that occur that we're not prepared for.
That we aren't. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to prepare for it, isn't it?
Extremely.
How do we recognize that it's coming? Mm-hmm. How do we
Well, Dr. Marshall and I, that's what we specialize in, are diagnosing patients who might have Alzheimer's disease, and we work very closely with the Alzheimer's Association in terms of advocating for research, because one thing is to diagnose people, which we can do even at a very early stage, but another is to keep advocating for a cure. So initially, Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia in older people, and the initial sign is typically short-term memory loss. So they're forgetting things that they're learning today.
Yes. All right, but I'm going to ask you this. What's when you say is the most common form of dementia, explain the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's.
All right, so dementia means that somebody has a brain disease and it's affecting how they process things cognitively, how they think, what they remember. And Alzheimer's disease is the most common causes 70% of all dementias in older persons. And right now in Texas, there's over 300,000 people dealing with Alzheimer's disease right now. And the scary thing is that number is just going to increase over the next coming decade or so. That number is going to rise.
We don't know where it comes from.
Right, so the researchers, UT Southwestern and other places around the state and the country are looking into that. Why do some people get Alzheimer's disease and other people don't?
And other people don't.
And how early can we diagnose it? And what can we do to treat it? What we really want is a cure, or at least a treatment that's going to stop it or slow it significantly.
When somebody comes to you and they talk about my mother, could you examine my mother? Are there certain specific things you look for in dealing with not only the patient but with the family member, what they've noticed?
Yes, we always rely on the family to give us a good history as well as the patient. So we listen for those short-term memory deficits that Mary mentioned, because that's what leads the way, the symptom that leads the way. And Alzheimer's has a common story. So there's a lot of similar elements in the story. So we can listen to the history and we rule out other things like thyroid problems and strokes, and we can make an accurate diagnosis.
But the thing is, doesn't everybody suffer some kind of short-term memory loss? Like if you have a full calendar and somebody says, where were you yesterday? And you go, whoa, am I getting Alzheimer's?
Cindy too. I mean, we see a lot of people who are much younger than we would expect who are worried because they have a family history, or they're just concerned, is this normal or not? And that's something that we can help with. The Alzheimer's Association can help people try to answer that question as well.
Well, I'm thinking like if the brain is like a computer and we got all this stuff stored in there, don't we have to delete certain stuff to make room? So does this mean if we do sometimes forget what we had for lunch yesterday, can we just blow that off as just kind of normal?
Well, one of the things, and probably Cindy tells her
Because
patients
I'm
this
talking
too.
here about myself.
If it doesn't affect your function and you still make it wherever you need to go, then it's probably okay. But if there's any concern, somebody should seek out a medical professional to discuss this, because there is early detection.
Yes.
And there are things that we can do in terms of treatment, diagnosis.
What treatment would you do
and
for
helping the family.
early detection?
Well, right now I think just making the diagnosis is important. Maybe 20% of people who have Alzheimer's disease dementia don't even get a diagnosis. So making the diagnosis is important. Helping the patient and the family cope with the disease, like with an association like the Alzheimer's Association, is important. And there are medications that we can give the patient as well. And then involvement in research is really crucial.
I understand, but do you tell them, okay, start putting Post-it notes on the cabinets now?
Well, there are some things like that you can do at home just to make life easier for somebody with a memory impairment. But there are medications that might help to augment memory as well.
And when you say that might help, we're not sure, but they might?
Well, I say might because I think that they do help. That is kind of a controversial opinion. They're not disease-modifying drugs. What we're looking for, what the research is trying to find, is a drug that actually modifies the disease and stops it and slows it down. And the research right now is taking a really crucial turn. We're starting to look at prevention. So getting people before they have dementia or before they have memory loss and intervening at that point and finding a cure.
There's so much information that you can supply, and you can get more information from the Alzheimer's Association by going to their website. That's alz.org. I don't know how I feel about this, except I know that I'm sometimes forgetting names, and but I don't forget what to eat, and I don't forget to shop. We'll be right back.
While there is no known cure for Alzheimer's disease, the development of medications and other forms of treatment continue to advance, making life with Alzheimer's a bit easier.
These developments depend on donations and grants.
If you would like to make a donation, go to www.alz.org and click on Donate. For the Volunteer Spotlight, I'm Sherry Green.
And I'm James Green. We'll see you here next week.